Hi guys. So today I'm going to be answering a question. I'm going to be answering a question. How do we find prime numbers within a Python range? This is specifically for individuals trying to get used to the Python programming language. And in my channel, it helps you if you're trying to get started with data science with Python. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a function. Right? No, hold on that. I want to define, so what are prime numbers? I think that is important. So what are prime numbers? Now, a prime number is a number that has no positive divisor other than itself. That's what a prime number is. So I'll share this here. So look at that. A prime number is a number greater than 1 that has no positive divisors other than 1 and itself. Other than what? 1 and itself. So let's go on and see how we can have this created. Now the first thing I'm going to do to create finding prime numbers within a Python range, right, is, and so again, what we're going to do is we're going to use the range function. So somewhere you're going to see that. So now let's get started. First things first, we're going to create a function. So I'm going to call this function is_prime, right? And it's going to, and this, by the way, is the first function we're creating. So I'm going to call this num. And okay, and when creating a function, it's definitely going to have the def keyword of the function name. And if you have a parameter for it, you put it here, then you now have the colon. Now the colon is going to bring for an indentation. Best practice, document. So here, this function is going to check if a number is prime. So that's what it's going to do. So we're going to check if a number is prime, right? So this is a doc string, by the way, right? Now, the next we're going to use a conditional statement, an if statement. We're going to say if num, and what we're trying to confirm here is we want to eliminate any number that is less than or equal to 1, because you're not primes, right? So so this is what I'm going to do here. So if it's this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the return statement and say return false, right? So that's 1. Next, I'm going to write a for loop. Now again, we want to check if num is divisible by any number from 2 to 1. So we want to be sure, right? Just to see if we can return that as false. So here we're going to say we're going to write a for loop. So we're going to iterate for I in range, and we're going to create a range. And so look at what's going to be in that range. It's just going to be 2, right? And then we're also going to introduce num. So here we go. So now what it does, that again, it checks if num is divisible by any number from 2, downward. So that's what we want to be sure. Now here we're going to say if num, and we use the modulo operator. And remember, what the modulo operator does is that if it takes what you're dividing it by, then after the whole division happens, the remainder, it brings it out. Then we use the equality operator. Remember, the equality operator has a rule that any value on the left and any value on the right, they have to be equal for it to be true, right? So we put 0 here. So if num, right, modulo, oh, I nearly forgot that, with modulo I, which is whatever is in here, right, is equal to 0, or brings out 0, then what we're going to do is we're going to still return false. So we're kind of trying to clear our way around this. Now we've done this, then generally we're all going to come to this place and return true. So which means generally all we've done in is prime is any number that comes in here and is able to go through all these checks that we set up here, can come out as true. So this is what we have here. So that's the first, right? So I'm just going to run this to be sure we don't have any errors. Now the next thing I want to do is I'm going to now create my final function. And now this is the function where we are typically going to do our thing, find our prime numbers, right? So first we create the function, then we call this find underscore primes underscore in underscore range. Forgive me if it is so long. Just wanted to put context to it. And just like the last one we did where we're finding odd numbers, we're going to have our start and we're going to have our end. So this is the parameters we have in here. Next, of course, let's document this. So what we're going to do here is we're going to find all prime numbers in a given range. So in a given range. And that given range, for the most part, is what we have here. So we're going to have a start and we're going to have an end. So that's just what we want to do here. So that's what we have here. Then, so we get started. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write prime underscore numbers. And in here, I'm going to initialize an empty list. So that's what's going to be here. Next, I'm going to say for num in range. So this is our range, right? And then it's going to have start and we're going to have an end. Right, for that, we're going to ask this. Now, if, remember what we did here, if is prime, right? So if is underscore prime, come on, yeah. Yes, if is prime, I wonder why that took so long, right? And there's num inside, what's going to happen? So here we're saying if the number is prime, yep, add it to the list, because that's what we're going to say here. Because what is prime does is it returns true if it gets through, if it breaks through all this restrictions, right? So what we're going to do is we have prime, which is this prime number that's here, this empty list. So please append num to it. As long as it passes our security check, our prime number security check over here, please add it to this. And what do we want at the end of the day? We want to return our prime numbers. So which is this. This is what we want to return. And so we run it. Lovely. Next, we want to look at our examples just to be sure all this we have done, right, if it works. So again, I'm going to have my start, and in here I'm going to have 10. I'm going to have my end, and in here I'm going to have 20. Then my prime numbers, which is prime underscore numbers, is going to be, we're going to use this, which is find primes in range. And of course, we're going to have our start, which is 10. And we're going to have our end, which is 20, right? And so we run this. So it's good. It's now inside prime. Next, I'm going to use the F string so that, for readability, right? So I'm going to use the F string, and F string is our string formatter. And so here I'm just going to say prime numbers between our start. So I'm just going to put a curly brace so that I can reference this. So in here I'm going to have my start, and the end, which is of course is 20. So I'm going to put the curly brace because I'm just going to reference it in inside the f string, and then I'm going to end it here, and I'm going to call this prime numbers. I need to make this smooth, so I'm just going to reference this and close here, and of course close here, and of course close again. So we run this. So the prime numbers between 10 and 20 are 11, 13, 17, and 19. See that? Right. We could still make it 10 to 50. Let's make it 50. Then we'll run this again, and then we'll come over here, and you see between 50 is all this. So so take your time and check this out. Now, what I was trying to achieve with this is the basic stuff you're going to learn in Python, like creating functions, using if statements or conditional statements, for loops, and at the end of the day, using f strings. Really, really basic stuff.